And hello and welcome to Magical Journeys Paranormal Files. I'm your host, Daniel Cahoon, and the founder and creator of Magical Journey. Now, before we get started, I just want you to know that this is our Thursday release of the Paranormal Journals. And on Friday, I have a live show with special guests at 7 p.m. Central Time every Friday. So please come and join us there. Also, don't forget Facebook page and group. If you're not interested in joining the group, the page is there under Magical Journey to be able to go and get latest updates on what's going on, what we're doing, and all of the latest shows. Now, if you like the group experience, we do have Magical Journey group. I go on there frequently, actually on the daily, and post information about upcoming events, upcoming shows. We ask questions, get you guys involved in the process there. And it is definitely a group experience. So there are files in there that I'm starting to upload now that are part of the journal, and there are various other things that go on in there. So don't forget that. Also, you can find me on X and Insta and what else? TikTok. Yes, you can find me on TikTok. TikTok is a behind the scenes is kind of a journal of the podcast and my life. So it's kind of a combination of all. It's a be able to get to know Daniel better behind the scenes sort of thing. Um, And recently, I just opened up a account on Tumblr where I share some uh, historical evidence as well as possibly some current evidence whenever I get to that point. Right now, it's just all historical stuff. So that's on Tumblr. And you can find me always under the brand Magical Journey. And you'll always find our little witchy hat um, logo on all of our stuff. And I keep saying our, I'm a one man band, dudes. Don't let me fool you. Shame on me. So today we are going to do, oh, did I mention that? Every Thursday I upload a episode of Magical Journeys Paranormal Journal, which is basically um, about the research that I'm currently doing or past research that I've done related to the paranormal. And I will share with you the information that I have. Eventually, I'm going to probably start sharing um, images and other things to you on there. I'm not quite at that point yet. I'm sorry. Um, but I'll get there. I'll get there. Um, in particular, if it has to do if it's something that has to do with something I'm actually talking about and reporting on, if it's really cool stuff that you guys haven't seen a million times, I will probably upload it and share it with you guys. Otherwise, I'll give you a location where you can go to find some of the stuff, either in the video or in links on the Facebook group. There's a good reason to join the Facebook group. You see how that works. Anyway, all right, this week I'm going to talk about some of the paranormal hotspots in Tennessee. Now, before I get started with that, actually, as sort of a precursor to all of this, I'm going to tell you a little bit about why I'm starting out with this. This is episode 2 of the journal. Uh, this kind of goes into a little bit of a good introduction to some of the theories that I have. Um, Tennessee, in particular, Tennessee, Kentucky, uh, Alabama, parts of Georgia. There are a lot of things connected there, all of Appalachia. which covers a vast area. There's a lot of things connected to uh, my research that I believe all ties those areas together. And I want to add with that Ohio and Kentucky, which Kentucky is technically part of the Appalachia area. I believe Ohio Valley is too. Um, so let's let me clarify a little bit of why I want to focus on Tennessee first. First of all, Tennessee is very close to the 33rd parallel. The 33rd parallel runs through parts of Alabama. I'm not going to get into which parts today. Look it up and do your research, and we'll talk about that on another day. It also goes through Mississippi and Georgia as well. So there's the 33rd, and then there's the 34th and 35th parallels going northward that all have some significant meaning, and it's all connected back to the energy around the 33rd parallel. Now, we will talk in depth about the 33rd parallel as well on another episode. There are some things I want to um, some of the subjects that I touch on in some of these videos, I'm going to go into deeper detail in a later video. So this is why it's really important to keep up with the journal itself. So Thursdays, bookmark that day for this. Um, the importance of the 33rd parallel, the importance of the Appalachian chain, the importance of one of the areas in particular that I'm going to be talking about today, uh, all revolves around a power grid kind of thing. Now let me qualify that a little bit. There are certain minerals and certain crystals and deposits in these areas that help to accentuate the energy of the area, if you will. So, for instance, through parts of the Appalachians, there's quartz, there's lithium. Lithium is a big amplifier. Those are the two that I want to focus on in particular. You also have hematite in parts of these areas. In one part that we'll be talking about today, there is a huge hematite deposit that used to be mined for hematite, actually. Um, there's so not only do you have the energy of the 33rd parallel, but you also have the energy of these minerals and crystals. Quartz is a very big amplifier. It amplifies the energy of everything around it. So that is one of the big things. It's actually the master crystal. It is the crystal that literally will do anything and everything. It is also a very big powerhouse. It can also drain energy. That's one thing a lot of people don't know. Now, the important thing to know about all of these energy centers, like I'm talking about, is they can be used for some very important things, okay? And some not so good things too. The energy in these areas, first of all, energy is negative, or not negative, but neutral. It is, energy is just energy. It is what you choose to do with that energy that is either good or bad. Okay, let's verify that right off the bat. So none of these places are dark places or light places. They're places, energy places. It's kind of like the energy, the electricity in your house is not good or bad. It is the use of that energy that can be good or bad. The use of that electricity. So if you use that electricity to harm someone or to do something that is not good and not healthy, then obviously we have a problem, Houston. Okay. If you use it for everyday tasks, to help feed your family, to operate machinery for a positive reason, all of those things, then you know that you are doing a good thing, right? And that is kind of a misconception with people, is that there's dark energy and bad, bad stuff, and then light energy and good stuff. Energy is just energy. It is the intent that you use it in. Okay. Cannot say that enough, especially in light of some of the things that we're going to be talking about today. Um, with that said, there are areas that are higher in energy and that are considered energy sources, energy centers. People use these places for sacred space. Um, they've been used for working magic and all kinds of things in the past and in the present. There's a lot of things that go on that can be used here. And this is important for one of the things that I'm theorizing and starting to look into. Part of the point of this research is these are energy centers, these are our power points, if you will, places of great importance in the process of being able to create, um, opening portals, all kinds of things. There's a lot of stuff that can go into the use of the energy for this. Now, there are several different types of people who are interested in these energy centers. We'll get into that another day. Again, there's a lot of foreshadowing in this video, and there's a reason for that, other than I want you to watch my stuff, which I really want you to watch my stuff, but there's more to it than that, okay? Um, in Tennessee, we are going to talk today about three specific power centers, three specific areas in Tennessee that are known for being um, being more than what they appear to be. They're more than just a pretty face. Uh, and we're going to start west and go east with this, okay? So the first place I want to talk about actually is a 440-mile stretch that starts in Tennessee, uh, and goes down uh, through Mississippi into, I believe, into Louisiana. It is called the Natchez Trace. The Natchez Trace goes a very long way. It covers a very large area, and it is extremely beautiful, but it's also a very interesting power source. Okay. Um, I'm still working on all the reasons behind the trace being what it is. Uh, Obviously, as far as some of the phenomena that happens there, some of that relates back to the historical aspect of the trace. At one time, the old trace, which if you ever go down there, the sunken trace is creepy as hell. Um, Parts of those areas were used for the slaves to go back and forth for selling and trading them. Um, but there are some areas there that are notorious, um, for paranormal activity and just in general. I mean, there's Indian mounds all through the trace. There's another thing to contemplate. They're in Indian mounds. And while most of the ones that I've seen there, which I haven't seen a lot, because I haven't spent a lot of time on the trace yet, um, they appear to be relatively normal. So I haven't seen any personally that scream that something strange may be buried here or anything like that. You will see that in some areas where they are massive. The ones that I've seen, like I said, are pretty normal size. So there's nothing, of course, those are also like out in obvious areas, like right on the parkway. Um, Now, some areas that are very interesting to note on the trays. Um, the King's Tavern, I am looking at my notes right now because there's a lot to this, okay? The King's Tavern still have ghosts visiting it, according to legend. Uh, the Notches City Cemetery, a lot of unexplained phenomena and eerie sightings. Now, let me remind you, not only do they have settlers cemeteries there, but there are also Indian mounds there. So there's a lot of like orbs, apparitions, lights of all kinds, um, a lot of paranormal activity in and around the cemeteries and around the mounds there. Uh, Station Hill or Staten, I'm sorry, Staten Hill Hall, Hill Hall, Hall, Staten Hall. Eh, Um, it is believed to be haunted by the former owners. And then there's a very interesting, I want to be very careful about this one because this one, for lack of a better word, is known for being the unalive bridge. There's literally a crisis line phone at the at least one end of this bridge, and it goes over there's a high. It's very up high. This bridge is very up high. It's very modern looking. There's this gorgeous old home, old white home that sets off in the distance from it, and it's just it over the overlook of that, and it also goes over a highway. Um, I have been to this bridge before. It is very like the scenery is very beautiful. It is a very eerie feeling to it though. And part of the reason for that is that it is known, highly known. Like I said, they have crisis hotlines at the both ends, I believe both ends of this bridge, um, because of what it's known for, which is people jumping. Um, I don't know how many reported jumps there are. I think there's at least 3 or 4 a year. But I do know, according to the um, the first responders in that area, that they frequently have had to assist people in uh, that were in crisis that was on the bridge. So, and I've actually been both on the bridge and down at the bottom of the bridge, like where some of these people may have actually landed. And I got to tell you, it's a very strange feeling there. Uh, I'm, I wouldn't say it doesn't feel eerie necessarily. It just it feels off and it feels strange and it feels like a place almost of confusion. That's the best way I can describe it. Okay, so there is one area that is, and the trace, like I said, goes for like I think it is 440 miles. I have not done a lot of research on the trace yet. That is in my bucket list. You guys have to understand, like when it comes to specific areas, um, my focus in the past has been on places like Decatur, Illinois, Chicago, those areas in the Midwest and parts of Atlanta and so forth. And then in the Northwest, the Great Northwest. So I have not done a lot in the South, oddly, until recently, the recent few years that I've been here. Uh, so it is ongoing fresh research in this area. And actually, I'm updating my research quite a bit now and revisiting a lot of it because there was a point where I did not do research for a very long period of time. So some of my research is now very outdated or needs to be updated at this point, which is what this journal is also about, is kind of you experiencing my new findings as well. So there is the the ghostly side and the weird side of the trace. I do want to point out that um, there have been vocalizations that have been caught by YouTubers of Bigfoot and Dogman on the trace. No surprise there, absolutely no surprise. Uh, I strongly believe that there are elementals that work there as well as, and it's obvious with the connection to the Native American, the indigenous Americans. It's obvious that elementals and the forest spirits and earth spirits and so forth and so on would be in that area. So um, there's a lot of reasons why on the surface, just on the surface, that we see this as being a hotbed of energy, an energy source. Uh, the vocalizations I have not really got a chance to dig into again. I want to remind you guys the trace is really an area that I have not spent a lot of time researching yet. It will in future episodes be featured as more in depth. Now, let's move into central Tennessee. And I know some of you already know what I'm going to be talking about because it's everybody's hot spot. This is the place that all paranormal research in central Tennessee ends up at before it's over with, it seems like. And that's the LBL, the land between the lakes. So, first of all, let me just tell you guys something that I did not know about land between the lakes that I recently just found out. It is an area that has a high concentration of hematite, which is a protective and grounding stone. And I need to do some more research on hematite in the paranormal because I know some of the magical properties of hematite. I know that its reflective quality means also that it's very good for self-reflection and mirroring to ourselves those things that we should do shadow work on, that kind of thing. However, I believe that there's probably some other qualities to it that make that kind of interject into the paranormal realm that I do not know about yet. Like I said, I know about the metaphysical and the magical properties of hematite. I use hematite for a few things in my practice, but that was something I did not know. It was actually mined at one time. Hematite was mined in the LBL at one point. So let's talk a little bit. I'm not going to get really into the LBL because, frankly, I love talking about the LBL. Do not get me wrong. I really do. But frankly, right now, I don't have anything new to add to the mounds of research already being done at the LBL. So I'm not going to like rehash anything until I find out something else about the LBL that's not really mentioned very often, like the hematite. Uh, so obviously, one of the things that the LBL is known for is dogman sightings and Bigfoot sightings and other cryptids. Uh, it seems like the big story there are the dogmen. And I understand that like especially because of books that have come out, I know I've got an opportunity in the past to talk with Daryl Denton and Martin Groves. I have not talked with anybody else who have researched the LBL area. Um, I'm actually trying to get Daryl on to the show, and he's wanting to come on to the show for an interview. It's just timing is a thing right now. Uh, I'm currently reading and doing research into the LBL, kind of refreshing my memory on some of that stuff, and really haven't found anything terribly new at this point related to the LBL. Uh, my focus that I really want to know more about are the cemeteries because there's been a lot of activity, paranormal activity around the cemeteries. Very little of it's been talked about. Uh, when I see photos of some of those cemeteries, I pick up energy, like really messed up energy. But you got to remember, there's a lot of bad blood, a lot of um, very hostile energy in the history of the LBL. Okay, so especially the recent history, when you displace 800 families, and those 800 families, leave behind loved ones, those people are going to be kind of angry, both sides, okay? So there's a lot of angry energy related to the LBL. And that I really want to focus on that a bit. Um, and then, of course, there's the Vampire Hotel, another area that you don't hear a lot about. I'm not even sure really what that is, other than it's a structure that has some folklore to it. I've got it on my list of things to research. If you guys know anything or have any personal experiences with the Vampire Hotel or the haunted cemeteries of the LBL, please contact me at um, Daniel at magicaljourney.com. That is my email address. Let me pop up um, my banner. I'm so bad about forgetting some of this stuff sometimes, especially when I'm flying solo. There's that. So if you go to my website, there are all the links you need are on my website. Uh, you can go onto the website and find anything you need to know, especially my email address. Um, I'm also doing readings. Now you can book readings from the website. So keep that in mind. Just throwing it out there. Shameless plug in the middle of a video. Okay, so the LBL, one of the reasons why I've been kind of asking this question over and over, why the LBL? What is it about the LBL that's um, such a draw for people? Well, as far as the power source, obviously the quartz, which there is high in quartz there, I understand too, but also the hematite levels there being as high as they are could be a reason why some things are and some people are drawn to that area. Now, the history plays a part in it. The energy left behind from that energy, the energy left behind from the historical aspects of the LBL definitely plays a part in adding to the overall energy of the area. But there are definitely minerals and other things there that add to this. So the LBL is definitely a power focus and definitely a place of interest in some of the things that I'm researching and trying to sort out about the importance of Tennessee in the landscape of the paranormal and why some things happen, why there are certain aspects of the government and uh, different groups of people and so forth that are so interested in Tennessee. Because honestly, at first glance, like Tennessee is a very beautiful area. I love living here. I would not want at this point in my life to live anywhere else other than maybe Oregon or Washington. Um, but Tennessee is definitely one of those places that is a very beautiful place, but it's also very high interest drawing. I'll put it that way. Now let's talk about, we're going to travel east and we're going to talk about the Smoky Mountain area. Let me tell you guys, growing up, I used to go, my family would go to the Smokies all the time, sometimes more than I really understood the importance of, to be honest with you, as a kid. It had bears, it had some cool things, but it was really a lot of trees and rocks and water, and I didn't really get it at the time. I was a kid. I mean, it has some cool places. It has some cool shops and so forth. But yeah, as a kid, I mean, this was before I was 9 years old. So we're talking about six, seven, eight, well, actually 9, 10, 11 in those areas. Um, so some of the things that I've found and I wanted to kind of dig into a little bit deeper, uh, the spearfinger, which is an Indian, uh, excuse me, a Native American or indigenous, I really have to learn to get used to um, being kinder with those things. You can tell I grew up in an era Gen X. Okay, I'm sure I'm Gen X. I don't know for sure. Don't ask, but I'm very close to Gen X in a lot of ways. Um, so Spearfinger, which was a witch who had a stone finger. And the the persona of this creature apparently um, Spearfinger could uh, lure people by turning into either a person or an animal, and would lure people in and hook them with their spear finger and possibly unalive them. Like I said, I just found this out recently, so I have not. Ah, sorry. Um, I don't edit this either, by the way, much. Um, Spearfinger, though, is something I've never heard of before uh, in as far as Smoky Mountain lore, so I'm going to have to research this a little more. Uh, Lucy. Lucy was a young lady who uh, crossed over in a cabin fire in the Roaring Fork Motor Trail area, and she has been seen by people there before. I know Black Mass Paranormal, Brian did a episode where I think they went to the trace. I mean, to the trace, not the trace, the cove, Cadiz Cove, and um, I believe he caught Lucy on Spirit Box there and spoke with her briefly. Um, Lucy, I'm curious to see if there's any recent, like in recent being in the last 4 or 5 years, uh, uptick in occurrences with Lucy after the the fire there, the Gatlinburg fire. I have not researched that much yet. Again, like I said, some of these, I have a lot of research to do. Okay. The glowing orbs, especially around Cadiz Cove, the cemeteries there in the cove, and that lots of reports of glowing orbs. Now, when it comes to the orbs, let me say this. I'm really not sure what exactly. Some of them I believe are spirits, but I don't believe all of them are spirits. I'm still working on that. I have some theories. I'm not going to go into those theories today. It's not about that today. Today is really covering um, kind of like giving you a precursor to what's coming up. Okay. Uh, where I'm going with some of this stuff. Uh, Brown Mountain Lights. I do want to say that Jesse and Joe from Hellbent Holler have some really good evidence of the Brown Mountain Lights. Uh, I believe, I think it is the Brown Mountain Lights, right? I'm pretty sure that's the one that they have the evidence of and have been researching there. Um, then there are just the numerous vocalizations that have been caught and other strange noises. Harley Owens from Bigfoot data and research reports. I'm really bad about names today, but Harley Owens has definitely uh, caught some really good stuff from there. Scott, um, how can I forget Scott's last name? You guys know who I'm talking about if you know anything about the Smokies. Um, he caught a lot of really good evidence in that area. I believe vocalizations was probably one of the things that he was able to catch from time to time. And then there's just there's certain parts of those areas, honestly, like especially around the old mill and so forth, that when I go to the old mill going to Townsend, the grist mill, every time I've stopped there, I always feel like something is watching me the whole time. And by watching me, like I mean like I'm talking about all in my grill, all watching me. You know what I mean? So I'm not really sure what's going on there. I do get the idea that it is, I get the idea it's a Sasquatch. I feel like I've had them try to mind speak with me at the mill before, but I kind of blocked it out. I do want to go back there at some point though and check it out more and kind of get some better. I want to dig into it a little bit, especially going back away from the mill, following that stream down a bit, that area, that over past the mill, going downstream a little ways. That's where I feel I'm being watched a lot. I don't feel like a lot of people go down there. I could be wrong. So there's always a sense people say that they have a lot of feelings of being watched and definitely a sense of strange noises. Uh, the cemeteries all through the Smokies and are like I'm very drawn to the cemeteries, especially around the cove. Um, the ones there in Gatlinburg, The White Oak Flat Cemetery is one that's definitely known for being having some interesting paranormal activity. Uh, so let's talk for a minute about a couple of other things I have not touched on yet. So let's talk for a minute about the feral people, which again, Brian from Black Mass Paranormal uh, has done probably the most research that I know of, investigate boots on the ground investigating of the feral people. And while a lot of people are kind of skeptical about the feral people or not quite sure about them, I do believe that there is very strong possibility that there are feral people there, based on the evidence I've seen from Brian and his videos. I mean, dude caught something growling at him that sounded, it was either a Sasquatch or a feral person. I want to say because of the range of vocal and the general response that it gave, I want to say it was feral, but I could be wrong. So the feral people is that's one of those things that is highly debated and like I said, a lot of people are skeptical of it. But I do believe that there are a lot of um, a lot of possibilities when it comes to the feral people. I believe that the feral people could very well be the source of a lot of the disappearances in those areas. I don't know for sure. Obviously, I don't know anything for sure. A lot of it's speculation. A lot of it's still going back and doing the research. Nobody has 100% proof of much. I mean, I'll say much. Uh, I used to be kind of on the fence about Sasquatch, whether people actually had hardcore proof or not. Um, I've always believed Sasquatch was real. It was the proof that I wondered about. But in recent months, especially, I am leaning toward almost 100% sure that we have physical evidence of Bigfoot. Uh, I am still not convinced the DNA is not real. Okay. Um, I believe I'm leaning almost 100% toward the DNA being accurate, that it is definitely a Bigfoot DNA. Uh, the vocalizations, 100%, 100% believe that that is physical evidence that stacks up for the existence of Bigfoot. Uh, the structures that have been found, the lithographs that have been found, um, the footprints, obviously the footprints, 100% on all of those at this point, that is good physical evidence for the existence of Bigfoot. So I'm very, very, very close to being 100% on everything. Um, and here's part of my thing with some of this. Okay, the evidence, if you go back over a long period of time, I'm talking in some cases, especially when it comes to uh, the footprints, I'm talking decades. There's consistency in the evidence of the footprints. There's consistency in uh, the shapes and the structures and so forth related to the footprints over years. This is over years of castings and photographs. It's not like this has only been a few months. We're talking decades. Um, vocalizations. The vocalizations, if you go back and you listen to them, a lot of those are very much uh, consistent, is the word I'm looking for here. They are over a period of time now. We've seen and heard vocalizations line up, and there's variations in the vocalizations, but not variations that make you go, this is not the same creature. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. Consistencies that make you believe that this all is coming from the same type of creature or creatures. Um, the whoa factor, some of you guys are rolling your eyes already. Shame on you. Open your mind a little bit. If you're going to research, if you're going to investigate, you need to keep an open mind. Just because you haven't seen it or experienced it yet doesn't mean it could not be. This is something I've learned over the years when it comes. This is why I went back to paranormal research, because I finally woke up one day and was like, I ended my research at a very precarious place. And I ended it because I was running into brick walls and frustration and skepticism. I was getting very skeptical about some of it. Now, not so much so, because I was like, I looked around at the events of going on around me, and I opened my eyes and I realized something's going on around here. Okay, like the song says, there's something going on around here. And so that led me to go back to question and see just what it is that I missed, or what it is that I did not see, and part of that for me was a process of understanding that I need to be a little more open-minded and not so closed-minded to things that I was saying everything. I was one of those people that was like, I didn't believe in this right now. I had to develop the attitude of I'm not sure yet. Okay. So the feral people, the missing people, the people who have gone missing without a trace and no no clue about what happened to them. Uh, I will say this: when it comes to the one case and from the mountains, from the Appalachian Mountains, especially like the one that I'm thinking about is Trini Gibson from the Dome, um, the formerly called Clingman's Dome. Honestly, I can't pronounce the name of it yet. I need to go back and learn how to pronounce it correctly. Trini Gibson, I am now, because of the researchers who have been following her case for years. I am now convinced that Trini Gibson was probably unalived by somebody that she knew, and that her body, she is still there somewhere in the mountains. I don't think she ever left the mountains. Could be wrong about that part. However, I do believe that she was unalived by people, by either classmates or somebody who knew her. So that one we're going to leave out of the equation. But there are others that have gone missing without a trace, missing 411s, that do fall into the equation. And that's where I'm most concerned at this point with the missing part, missing people aspect. There's also missing people in and around the area. when I say in and around the area, I mean as far away as Nashville. Um, that just feels wrong to me somehow, especially missing children. And I know some of that could be traffickers, but I don't believe all of it is. And one of the reasons for that is I usually get an intuitive feeling whether something is a natural occurrence or an unnatural occurrence. And with some of these missing 411 children, I really feel like that is probably an unnatural occurrence. It is tied somehow to the metaphysical and the paranormal. So let's go back again to my reasoning for being curious about especially these three areas and in general about um, all of the Appalachia area. There are specific areas that I want to begin to focus on, especially in this series. Um, we're going to put West Virginia as a whole. Um, that is the only state in the Appalachian area that is the host state is part of the Appalachian. I say Appalachian, not Appalachia, although I do say Appalachia sometimes. Um, Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, I believe is part of this this area. I really want to get a map, and um, part of my goal is to get a new map because something happened with all my maps, um, and kind of map out these areas. All of Tennessee with special parts. Yeah, I'm actually taking down notes of this because it's kind of so things come to me sometimes. Northern Alabama, and in this case, these are confirmations or reaffirmations of places. And Georgia, definitely Mississippi, parts of um, Ohio Valley, and then Virginia. So those areas in particular, as a very large area, um, there are spots within all of those areas that I want to focus on, if not the whole area, because I keep getting pulled back to those areas, the same states, the same areas, the same locations over and over and over again. So with that, what I want to say is, like I said, I believe that these areas are highly affected. First of all, the lower parts of this area, especially North Alabama, Tennessee, North Georgia, possibly North and South Carolina, um, definitely North Carolina, South Carolina. We'll put a question mark by for right now because North Carolina is more. I get more pull toward it than I do South Carolina for some reason. Um, these are all areas heavily influenced by the 33rd. Okay. There's also other things in those areas because of their proximity to the 33rd parallel. Some of these areas are hotbeds of activity, and nobody has a clear idea of why the 33rd is so important. We have theories, we have ideas. There's just there's no 100% this is the answer to any of this, but they all tie together. We know that. Um, I will say that I believe that there is a connection interdimensionally. I believe there is a connection with, definitely a connection with the spiritual world, both lower and higher octave spirituals. Uh, it is a power center for light work and magic, and yes, dark magic as well. I believe that earth beings, earth earth spirits, if you will, and elementals both are attached to this energy that use this energy for other things. It definitely has a potential of being extraterrestrial uh, interest involved with it. So it's all interconnected somehow. The 33rd is one of those areas that is definitely important to the overall picture, the overall landscape of the paranormal. Much like some of the areas like Mount Shasta and other places that are considered sacred areas or so forth, the 33rd connects a lot of things together. Okay. If you go back and you do your research, it would take a lifetime just on that one subject and then some to find out what the 33rd connects together altogether on just planetarily. All the cities, all the centers, all of the power centers, all of that stuff. The 33rd connects a massive amount of things together because it literally circles the entire globe. And a lot of things were pulled and drawn into that area. And a lot of things use that area. Um, it is an entry and departure way for the earth. I do know that for energy and for beings, and that includes interdimensionals and otherwise. So that much I absolutely know, an entry and a departure way. So it's sort of a portal in a sense. I wouldn't call it a portal in the sense of the type of portal that we usually think of. But anyway, so I know I've covered a lot of different areas today. Um, these are areas, these are things, these are the topics I'm going to be focusing on over the next few weeks. Right now, I'm kind of stuck in the LBL for this moment. Um, I'm working on reading a book about the LBL that I have not read yet. And then I may take a break from the LBL and step back from that and research some of these smaller elements of things that I've gone over today for the next paranormal journal. Uh, do please go to my website, magicaljourney.com, and bookmark that. Go there frequently. You can find all my social media. You can find bookings to readings and to my lives if you're interested in doing a live, or if you would like to contact me about doing a um, an episode of the Tuesday recorded show. Um, there's just a lot of information on the website. And of course, I've added a page, a blog page for the Paranormal Journal on there just this past week. And the first entry is up already. So the website is definitely um, a first stop, if you will, into the magical journey realm. Also, Facebook page, Facebook group. Again, the group, you are going to find out a lot of updated, almost on the daily, if not always on the daily, updates and postings on the group, Magical Journey on Facebook. Definitely keep up with, if you want the behind the scenes story about me and the podcast, go to Magical Journey on TikTok, Instagram, and if you want to see some of the currently historical evidence and photos related to topics of the paranormal, go to Magical Journey on Tumblr. I'm trying to think, am I missing anything? Obviously, please like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. My numbers are looking really good. I'm taking off on there. I went like in 2 months, I've gone from the same 50 people I've had for almost 2 years now to 172 people, subscribers altogether now. So that's a pretty good leap in about 2 months, going from the same 50 for 2 years up, shooting up quickly to 170. I think I'm at 173, 74. I may be even higher than that now. Um, so, like I said, please like, subscribe, and share my YouTube. And meanwhile, thank you guys for joining me. If you've made it this far, I love you guys for hanging with me. Leave comments, any suggestions you have for future episodes of the journal, leave below in the comments. Um, and I will look forward to seeing you guys next week. As always, may your journey always be magical.